You must be the change you wish to see in the world. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. People say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing every day. Wouldn't it be nice if all we needed to motivate our students was a few motivational quotes and a little sense of humor? Today, I hope to help you learn how to motivate your students and yourselves by replacing motivational quotes with functional strategies. So what is motivation? I think if you asked 100 people that question, you would get 100 different answers. Motivation has been described as having three functions. It activates behavior, it directs behavior, and it will regulate the persistence of those behaviors. Have you ever thought that one of your students just didn't have any motivation? Have you ever thought that you didn't have any motivation? Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of study that has been done into motivation that can help answer some of those questions and hopefully aid you in helping your students and yourself. There are three main motivational theories. Expectancy value theory. People are motivated by two factors. Can I do this, and is this important to me? Causal attribution theory. People make decisions based on what they view as the causes for past events. And goals and goal orientation theory. People engage in a task to demonstrate competence or develop competence. Today, I'm going to talk to you about causal attribution theory and goal orientation theory and setting goals. According to Bernard Weiner's attribution theory of emotion and motivation, causal thinking arrives from attribution processes that are very common in human nature. Through the decades, studies have shown that when people have a certain life experience, they immediately start to figure out why. This causes them to identify causes of events. This in turn affects their expectations for the future, their appraisals of responsibility, but also affects their emotions like pride, guilt, and hope. All of this regulates subsequent motivation, goal striving, and performance outcomes. So in other words, their perceptions of past experiences, like a student getting a failing grade on a test, will affect future events, like they may not try because they think that they're just bad at math. Weiner identified three properties of causal attribution: locus of causality, stability, and controllability. Locus of causality asks the questions, are the causes residing within the person, or are they outside of the person? Are they internal or external? Stability asks the questions, will the causes change over time, meaning they are unstable, or will they be constant, meaning that they're stable? And controllability asks the question, is this something that the person can alter by themselves, or is this something in someone else's control? In order to help students be successful and more motivated, you need to know how they explain their success or failures. High achievers tend to approach new tasks willingly because they believe that their successes are due to ability and effort. Students that attribute their success to luck will doubt their ability and will approach tasks less willingly or avoid them altogether. Our student friend that failed the math test has decided that he just isn't good at math. If the teacher were to help him go over his test to see what he missed and help him learn from his mistakes, and then allow him to take the test again, he would most likely see an improvement in his test scores. This might make him realize that he can do math, and it was just because he didn't put in the effort the first time. Hopefully, this is something he will realize he can control, and then on the next test, he will remember that if he puts in a little bit more effort to study, he can do a good job on the test. Once you know about your students' causal attributions, you can begin attribution treatment, also sometimes called AR treatment. There are 4 protocols that you can choose from. You'll probably want to focus on the first 3. Protocol 1 involves introducing or emphasizing the controllable causes of the task. In the case of the math student, the controllable aspect is the amount of time he puts into studying and practicing the math problems. Protocol 2 involves downplaying or curtailing the uncontrollable causes. Don't let him focus on his assumption that he just, quote, isn't good at math. Protocol 3 would mean doing both, emphasizing what is within his control and downplaying what is not in his control. So since we're out for the summer, I didn't have students to use this new information with. I decided I would try something with my 9-year-old daughter, Grace. Grace is a soccer player, but recently has really been struggling with her confidence on the soccer field. This has been especially apparent this summer as she started training with a coach and just a few other girls. When I asked why she thought she was struggling, she said, "I can't run as fast," or "I'm just not good." Grace's recent attributional style has been that the cause of her failure was due to other people beating her, an external locus of causality, that she couldn't change it, meaning it was a stable trait, and it was not within her control because she just wasn't good, meaning uncontrollability. Previously, I probably would have said, "No, you're super fast," or "You are good, what are you talking about?" But after learning about causal attribution, I decided to take a different approach and get her to see how this uncontrollable state of not just being good anymore was actually within her control. As I approached this project, I wanted to use the information regarding attribution retraining and following the guidelines for attributional feedback by M.K. Alderman. Some of the guidelines for attributional feedback that we learned were to focus on the effort, strategies, and ability of the skills as the reasons for success, to ensure students believe they have the ability and that they are able to exceed, and then give them strategies to assist and have them attribute their success back to those strategies. Most importantly, be honest and realistic with your attributions. After her next session, we sat down and talked about her reasons for why she didn't do very well. When she brought up the real reasons, I asked if there might be something that we could focus on to change what is within her control. She said one of the major reasons she felt like she didn't do well was that she was tired, her legs hurt, and she was breathing hard. I asked her why she thought she felt like that. She admitted that she hadn't done much physical activity since the season ended, so we talked about that being something that we could easily control. We came up with a plan for her to make sure she got on the treadmill for about 30 minutes every day just to move. She didn't have to run, she could just walk, but by the second or third day, she was already feeling better about moving and started to run during some of her 30 minutes. The next week, when she went to her next session with the coach, she did better. When she finished, I asked her how she felt. She said she did feel better about her performance. She said she wasn't as tired and talked about how doing the walking each day had really helped her recondition herself for playing. She mentioned that she thought she could continue to improve and mentioned she might try to run for more of her 30-minute treadmill workouts going forward. I focused on her efforts and strategies and the reasons for her success. I made sure to let her know that she had the ability to improve and make changes on her own that would affect her performance. I gave her the strategies to improve, and I was encouraging but never gave her dishonest feedback. I was truthful with her throughout the process. The AR protocol used was mostly Protocol 1, emphasizing controllable cause. Going forward, we may use curtailing uncontrollable causes, but it would be in conjunction with emphasizing the controllable cause, which would make it Protocol 3. So what motivational strategies can you take away from causal attribution theory with your students and with yourself? Focus on the 3 properties of causal attribution: locus of causality, stability, and controllability. Focus on the things that you can change with your students. That is their effort and the strategies they use. For you, that can be the same. And then when a change or improvement is made, draw attention to the effort or strategy that made it happen. The next motivational strategy we'll learn about is goal setting and goal orientation theory. So what is goal orientation theory? Well, it basically describes why people engage in a task. There are 2 orientations, performance and mastery. Performance is to demonstrate competence to others, whereas mastery is to develop the competence or learn a skill. Within each of these, there are also subcategories of approach and avoidance. So when we look at all of that together, we end up with 4 main goal orientation theories. We have performance approach, which is just to demonstrate competence to somebody else. Performance avoidance, which would be avoiding demonstrating incompetence to other people. Mastery approach, which is when you go into something to develop competence or learn a skill. And mastery avoidance would be avoiding poor performance or failing to learn a skill. That brings us back to Grace.
I'm just not good enough to do this.
So what is it that Grace wants to be able to do? I asked her what her soccer goals were, and they were to score 5 goals in a game, to learn how to do a bicycle kick, and to learn how to do a rainbow. These goals, although many of them include the word learn, which might indicate a mastery goal, would be identified as performance goal. So her orientation is performance approach. She is very concerned with demonstrating her competence to others. So how do I help her reach these goals? There are 5 goal processes to reaching a goal. It directs your attention and action toward an intended target. It causes you to use the effort in proportion to the difficulty of the task. It promotes persistence and effort over time and provides a reason to continue to work hard. It promotes the development of creative plans and strategies, and it provides a reference point throughout the process. There are also some properties of goal setting to enhance motivation. It is important to have both long-term or distal goals that keep us directed towards the ultimate target, and short-term or proximal goals that give us stepping stones to the distal goals and keep us motivated. It is important for the goal to be difficult or challenging, but not impossible. It is shown that difficult goals lead to higher levels of performance. Goals should be specific because they have clear standards and are more likely to motivate higher performance. Also, goal commitment is important. That includes intensity, or the amount of thought that goes into formulating the goal and how to reach it. Participation, meaning the individual needs to help create the goal. And peer influence. Strong group pressures often increase commitment, which is why so many times people can accomplish more with a group or team moving towards the same goal. And relation to feedback. It should be used to track progress, which allows for adjustments, and it should emphasize progress over luck, as that enhances self-efficacy. So what are we doing for Tegan? Well, we chose one distal goal, and that is to be able to do a bicycle kick. Her proximal goals were numerous. They broke down all the skills required to learn a bicycle kick. This will give her success along the way and feedback that she can use to adjust. Utilizing this process of breaking down the distal goal to be able to do a bicycle kick into small proximal goals listed above, this now seems like something she will be able to achieve within an appropriate amount of time. These stepping stones are more likely to keep her persistent as she achieves success throughout the process instead of only being able to recognize success when she reaches the distal goal. After breaking down the distal goal into proximal goals, my daughter was excited to get started. She can see what the goal is, why we are doing it, and how it plays into her overall success going forward. This all plays in directly to the 5 processes for motivation to reach the goal. She will be directing her attention and actions towards an intended target. She will put in the effort in proportion to the difficulty of the goal. It promotes persistence and a reason to continue to work hard, and also promotes the development of strategies and provides her a reference point throughout the process. She began with the first few steps, which can be done simultaneously. And although she did have to get over the initial fear of falling backwards, step 2, she can already see that it has gotten easier in just a few days of practice. This goal is also a difficult goal, not impossible, but difficult, and it again is shown that difficult goals lead to higher performance. The amount of time we have spent clarifying the goal increases its intensity. As she proceeds through these proximal goals, feedback will also be utilized. I will provide feedback, as well as your private soccer coach and her dad. Feedback will emphasize her progress, but also be truthful and fair. This will allow her to self-correct if needed and adjust the timing on each goal if necessary. She can also give herself feedback by recording her actions and viewing them separately as her own coach. And she can compare to earlier videos to see the improvement in her ability. What goal orientation should we be teaching our students? One useful approach is the target practices. The T stands for task. Have a variety, making them challenging, organized, and useful. The second one is authority. Target students need to have an opportunity to take responsibility for learning and make decisions. Recognition. Have incentives and rewards for effort, improvement, and leadership and accomplishment. Grouping. Use grouping structures to promote peer collaboration and cooperation. Evaluation. Use varied, private, and individual assessments. And timing. Give students the opportunity to plan schedules and complete assignments at appropriate times. So what motivational strategies have we learned from goals and goal orientation? Work towards a mastery approach orientation. Focus on developing your competence on a task or learning a skill. Evaluate your success based on progress. Set challenging but possible distal goals, but more importantly, make sure to set proximal goals. Be specific and have clear standards for your goals. So let's review the motivational strategies we have focused on today. From causal attribution, focus on the things that you can change. With your students, that is their effort and the strategies they use. And for you, that can be the same. When change or improvement is made, draw attention to the effort or strategy that made it happen. Set challenging but possible distal goals, but more importantly, make sure to set proximal goals. Be specific and have clear standards for your goals. I hope you're able to utilize the information provided in this presentation. You can use it to help your students, to help your family members, or even to help yourself. I know that I have learned a lot that I know will benefit my students in the coming school year and hopefully for years to come. Thank you for watching. I utilize the following resources to provide the information in this video.